So, James Bond is returning. Why am I not celebrating? Well, it's a little complicated. Let's get into it. So, for several years now, James Bond officially was sold off as a part of MGM to Amazon. And people were wondering, well, what did that mean exactly? Because for a very long time, it's been guided and controlled by the Broccoli family. For those who do not know, the Broccolis essentially were some of the original owners of a very past adaptation of James Bond. So this is not the Fleming family. This is not literally the original quote creators of James Bond. Nevertheless, the producers, whether you like them or not, or even you like the James Bond series, did hold a certain limit on what James Bond could be and should be on the silver screen. So he's always been, for decades, a cinematic icon. Now, again, whether you like the guy, don't like the guy, I'm sort of midway. I'm not a hardcore fan. I didn't watch the early Bond up to the present, but I've always sampled the Bond, and I'll be honest, it's been mixed. I mean, I like what Pierce Brosnan did. I liked what Daniel Craig did. So I've liked the Bond, but not been addicted hardcore. Nevertheless, I do appreciate that they try to stay within a certain boundary with Bond. Again, can't escape it, so it got to be brutal a little bit. That he's, quote, a white male, he's British, he acts a certain way, and many things like the Bond girls, the gadgets, and so on and so forth are part of what makes Bond Bond, and that's the way it's been maintained for decades and decades. So now the contractual issues with Bond have been resolved. The Broccoli's will maintain some ownership, but they are giving up creative control, which I assume means they got a massive payout so that Amazon can have full creative control. Now, what does full control mean? I would assume there's still some guidelines that they can't go beyond, but essentially they will now be deciding what happens with Bond. Will Bond go to television? Will they do, again, the usual, a multi-pronged cinematic series? They're going to do a combination, like a TV and movie series, so on and so forth. And some Bond fans are trepidatious because there have been rumors for years and years and years that they were going to make Bond a girl, make her a woman, just do all kinds of crazy things. Black, trans, Chinese, everything's on the table. Now, the Broccoli's were somewhat open minded, saying they were open to the idea of James Bond being non white, but they did leave it as a marker. He has to be a male. And their meetings with Amazon were, to put it mildly, somewhat problematic. So some people on the Amazon side admitted, I don't really think James Bond is a hero. And the room fell silent. So some of the meetings with Amazon did not go very well. So it seemed like they were at an impasse of how to reframe Bond because Daniel Craig was just getting too old. And he put a lot into that role. He got physically injured. So as much as I admire what Craig did, it just was not going to be an option to have him keep going. And it's just been very normal in the James Bond series to recast the role of James Bond. And now a lot of things are up in the air. Is he going to stay British? Will he stay male? Again, a lot of issues. And again, I'm not going to do a full commentary on Amazon. I think it's very clear that whether you like Amazon or not, they've had a very mixed track record. On the positive side, they've done very great things like Reacher and, into my mind, although it's divisive, Rings of Power. However, they've also done some productions that are less than stellar like Wheel of Time. Even people who liked the Wheel of Time adaptation admit that some episodes and even some entire seasons were pretty bad and they were radically different from the source material. So Amazon has sometimes done faithful adaptations, or at least ones that respect the core of the material, and then they've done adaptations that are radically, wildly different and not popular, not looking good, just embarrassments all around. Now, again, remember, Amazon is the studio. They don't necessarily do everything with these productions. Sometimes it's the production company that does it. But here it seems Amazon will be taking direct control. And if Jeff Bezos has already got into it saying, hey, who would you cast as Bond? So it seems clear that Amazon will be handling this, and they'll be delegating it to their precise producers, their own, quote, I guess, built-in home team. And Amazon also has notorious corporate scandals with worker abuse, a lot of scandals there. So it's just very tense time for the Bond fandom. But James Bond is coming. This is not like Jason Voorhees, where we still don't know. Is Jason coming back to the theaters? We don't know. Or even Michael Myers. Like, Michael Myers seems to be coming back, but we're still waiting. But James Bond is now returning. And you can definitely bet your bottom dollar they're going to be putting out a lot of Bond when they're ready. They're going to give us a lot of Bond in all kinds of ways. Even if it's only a movie series like it was before, we're going to get a lot of Bond. We're going to get Bond t-shirts, Bond video games, you name it. Bond is going to come back in a big way because Amazon is not small, right? When they do have something they want to put out, they want to vigorously market it. They are very, very aggressive. It's kind of like the Borg in a certain way, right? They do not do things piecemeal. They will come in full force. So you will know James Bond is coming back. It will be a lavish production. And at least that part is taken care of. Like with other studios, you'd always wonder, are they going to put the time and money behind Bond to really make Bond look good? Amazon, again, whatever you think about them, does have a lot of resources. So whatever they do, it will look at least, partly good. I think it'll observe a minimal standard. And I do think that they're probably going to observe the minimal standard with Bond. It will probably be a British male who will do the role again. But again, that's assuming a lot of things. At this point, if they want to make James Bond a female cartoon kangaroo, they can do that now. Canonically, they can do that. And again, James Bond is kind of weird that you have alternate canons, multiple canons. You've had basically iterations of the character. So this is not too damaging if the Amazon stuff goes badly. You still have literally dozens of films that are fine. They're not touched. They're on their own thing. There are many James Bond's universes. So if this universe collapses and just goes radically wrong, don't worry. You have the other James Bond universe. In fact, matter of fact, I can't show you this, but I think I even have some of the Bond on tape, right? So there's a lot of the older physical media. If this does not work for you, you can just go retreat to that. So no need to do a super panic. However, at least my initial thoughts are I'm kind of in the middle, not full panic mode. On the other hand, Amazon does have some really bad examples. They've got good examples. They've got good people working for them, but at the same time, the fact that it took so long to resolve this shows that they clearly didn't quite align with what they were up to, right? Whether a TV series or other ways to do James Bond, didn't quite know how to handle Bond. Now, will them being given carte blanche, as they say, really help, really work? I don't know, but I don't know. It's kind of good news, bad news that technically James Bond is returning, but it's returning with the ownership being transferred. And again, the Broccoli's have had control for decades, so whatever Bond will be in the future, it will probably not be the same that it was. So we're going to have to expect something very new. Will it be new good? Maybe, but I expect it will be new bad. That's just my personal gut feeling, but that is me being very pessimistic, and that's where I stand. But James is coming, good or bad. Will he be called James? We'll have to wait and see. And there we are.